Welcome to Everdream. Today we're going to be talking about Chigiri as promised, so let's get right into it. As is now the norm, we will start this video with a look at his physique. And right from the start, we find that Chigiri has unusually developed leg muscles that give him a special disposition to running, easily making him the fastest sprinter in the Blue Lock program. But outside of this, he is pretty unremarkable in most areas, being of average height with a small frame. His skills in areas such as ball holding or long shots are pretty average. That said, in terms of tactics or football IQ, he is pretty capable, as he is able to read a situation accurately and formulate a reasonable plan of action. He also possesses some noteworthy defensive abilities, as his speed makes it difficult for any on-the-ball player to move past him. He is therefore able to press players for possession of the ball and even steal the ball outright with his, quite frankly, brilliant tackles. And while his defensive skills can't come close to a real defender, the contributions he does make defensively have proven their value time after time, as players like Michael Kaiser and Isagi know all too well. Hyoma Chigiri doesn't sleep on defense, and that would always be to his credit. But all in all, he really only has 3 talents that stand out as real weapons in terms of their potency, and these are his speed, shooting, and his passing. Now let's start off with his speed. As stated previously, Chigiri is the undisputed king of speed in the Blue Lock program, with his only possible competition being Julian Loki. And while there are other speed-type characters that can challenge him in regards to other aspects of pacing such as agility, reflexes, and acceleration, ultimately no one but maybe Julian can match his top speed. Fully aware of this, Chigiri then leans into his talents, using speed to create opportunities for goals through either his off-the-ball runs or his dribbling. In regards to his off-the-ball skills, we find that Chigiri is incredibly hard to mark, as he can always outpace anyone provided he has the space to do so. This allows him to burst past any defender to receive a pass from his teammates, which then allows him to add value to his team by presenting himself as an available passing option during an offensive play. However, while advantageous to the team as a whole, this doesn't always give Chigiri the opportunity to score, since his teammates could just as well use his runs as bait to increase their own chance of scoring a goal. So in order to score, he would have to take matters into his own hands with his dribbling. Now, unlike Bachira and Rin, Chigiri's dribbling isn't the flexible type that depends heavily on technique, but rather the rigid type that leans more towards explosiveness and power. And this is pretty obvious from the way he dribbles, as he mostly gets past defenders by either simply outrunning them or by performing his signature self-pass, which is a strategy that involves him kicking the ball away from himself and towards the direction he wishes to run, only to then catch up to ball before anyone else. And while these are effective strategies, they rely on needing large wide spaces to dribble. Which makes sense. Chigiri's a sprinter, so it goes without saying he would need enough room to run. So if perchance the field is congested with too many players, well then he can't make use of his weapon. And while this weakness is something that is inherently linked to his playstyle, he has learnt to somewhat mitigate this by drastically improving his overall ball control, which allows him to more easily change directions when running at high speeds without losing control of the ball. As a result, he can now work in tighter spaces than before. And by also improving his physical conditioning with specialised training, he can also combine quick changes in direction with sudden bursts of acceleration to more easily dodge defenders that are in his path without having to rely on risky strategies like his self-pass. In addition to all this, he has also become far more tactical with how he dribbles, sometimes choosing to counter-dribble in a manner similar to both Itoshi Sai and Bachira. And he does this by going completely still and making 0 movements, which basically offers the chance for the ball to be stolen by a defender. And should anyone take the bait and move in to steal, he then suddenly turns on the gas and burst pass, catching them completely off guard with his sudden acceleration. And while this tactic does, by its very nature, slow down the game, the trade-off is it almost guarantees he gets past his marker if they do in fact take the bait. But there would be no point to simply dribbling defenders and running like a lunatic towards the penalty box if he couldn't shoot. Luckily, our princess can do just that. While he is no Kunigami and doesn't have crazy power behind his shots, he does have good technique and is extremely accurate, able to hit the ball on target from mid to close range with his trusty right leg. But it wouldn't be until after his training with football legend Chris Prince that he was able to elevate his shooting to the world-class level. You see, by carefully analysing footage from all his previous games, Chigiri and Prince were then able to figure out the specific circumstances in which Chigiri would be most likely to score a goal. And after a lot of training, they used this information to create a goal area, or a golden zone if you will, where Chigiri can mass-produce goals similar to what we've seen other high-level shooters like Zantetsu and Baru do. And thus the now legendary 44 Panther Snipe was born. And just like the name implies, this is a highly accurate mid-range shot, fired towards the right side of the net that can only be performed when Chigiri is at least 19 metres left of the net, facing it at a roughly 44-degree angle. And as can clearly be seen, the shot possesses an insane curve that goes around defenders before dropping down into the net. This is due to Chigiri now being able to add higher level spins to his shot. And due to extensive training and muscle memory, he also doesn't waste time calculating things like where to aim, the force and timing of his shot, etc., as he is able to use his Panther Snipe the instant he gets into his golden zone, even while under heavy pressing from defenders. It truly is a terrifying weapon that stands out for its speed and precision. But there is an inherent risk. Because the Panther Snipe is so formularized, it has the obvious weakness of being predictable. Anybody who sees this move a few times would instantly know what to guard against. However, this weakness, if leveraged properly, can be a source of strength, as Chigiri can always bait defenders into believing he is going for a Panther Snipe, but instead shoot the ball differently, or simply go for a pass. All in all, this weapon is a problem for the defence regardless of how it is used. And with that, we can finally start discussing his last core weapon, his passing. Chigiri has always been decent at coordinating his timing with others, as well as adding spins to passes, but due to his recurring role as a winger, his passes have been refined into being a weapon all their own. He can now give pinpoint accurate passes from across the field to his teammates with little difficulty, a skill which serves him well in creating chemical reactions. And with that, we have covered everything there is to cover about our beloved princess. Before we end this video, I hope I was able to answer the question of what exactly he brings to the table, which of course, as we've discussed, is his 1. Phenomenal dribbling, which is made possible by his outstanding pace. 2nd, excellent shooting. He is highly accurate, highly lethal at close to mid-range, and of course his 3rd, great passing ability, which he uses to create chemical reactions. But he is not without faults, as he also comes with a weak foot. Being a right-footed player, playing on the left wing, Chigiri's strategy revolves around dribbling towards the inside of the penalty area, where he then either shoots or passes. But if for whatever reason he can't cut inside, then he is forced to play like a more traditional winger and depend on his weaker foot to either pass or shoot, which of course would seriously diminish his accuracy. And though he can always readjust himself to shoot with his right leg, doing that would cost valuable time, which can even lead to the loss of goal-scoring opportunities and even possession of the ball. Hopefully he would remedy this in the future. Personally, I see Chigiri working on his less dominant leg, more so as to give himself more options to work with while he is on the left wing. And regardless of whether he is on the left wing or not, being able to use both legs to score makes one far more versatile and unpredictable when in the goal area. So this is something I see Chigiri doing. I also see him improving the effective range of his Panther Snipe and taking it further than 19 metres. Though these are just my personal thoughts on how his character would evolve as we enter the U20 World Cup arc. And at long last, we have now come to the end of this video. If you guys like what you saw and want to continue to see more, please give me that like rating and subscribe to my channel, as I would very much appreciate it. I would for sure be finishing my rundown of the Egoist 4. The next character I would cover is the cyborg himself, Kunigami. So please stay patient for that video drop. Until then guys, see you later. Stay safe.